The laughter rang across the schoolyard like a cruel whip, sharp and cutting. A group of teenagers stood in a circle, mocking, pointing, their voices filled with scorn. And in the middle of it all was a quiet farm girl named Emily, her head bowed, her hands clutching her worn-out backpack as if it could shield her from the insults hurled her way. She didn't dress like them. She didn't talk like them. She smelled faintly of hay and hard work, not perfume. And to them, that was enough reason to laugh. But what they didn't know, what none of them knew, was that beneath the silence, beneath the gentle eyes and humble clothes, Emily carried a fire. A fire shaped by pain, by years of pushing through life's hardest moments, and by something else no one in that school had ever guessed. She was a champion fighter. Emily grew up on a farm far from town, raised by her father after her mother passed away when she was only 7. Life was never easy. Every day began before the sun, with chores waiting, feeding animals, hauling buckets of water, stacking hay bales almost as tall as she was. By the time other kids were still in bed, she had already finished work that would exhaust most adults. And yet, no matter how much she gave, the farm always asked for more. It was an endless cycle of sweat and responsibility, but it built her body strong and her will even stronger. But there was something else that defined Emily's childhood. When her father saw how she often came home sad from school, carrying the weight of being teased for being different, he made a choice. He took her to a local gym run by an ex-Marine who taught mixed martial arts. At first, Emily was reluctant. Fighting didn't seem like her. She was shy, gentle, the girl who preferred sketching animals in her notebook over talking to people. But the first time she landed a punch on a training pad and heard the crack of her strength, something shifted. She realized fighting wasn't about violence, it was about discipline, control, and defending herself when the world refused to be kind. Years passed, and while the kids at school saw only the farm girl with mud on her boots, she was quietly building a different life. She trained late into the night, mastering techniques that demanded both mind and muscle. She endured bruises, setbacks, and exhaustion that would make most people quit. And yet, she never spoke of it. She never bragged. She let the whispers and insults pass over her, because Emily had learned patience. But patience has its limits. The breaking point came one cold afternoon. Emily was walking across the schoolyard when 3 of the popular girls spotted her. Their laughter was sharp, their comments sharper. "Look, it's cowgirl," one sneered. "Did you milk the cows this morning or just wrestle them for fun?" Another yanked at her braid, tugging so hard it made her stumble. The boys nearby joined in, laughing, throwing bits of crumpled paper at her. For a moment, Emily froze, the old instinct to stay quiet pulling at her. But then one of them shoved her, hard, knocking her backpack from her shoulder. It wasn't just the shove. It wasn't just the laughter. It was the years of silence, the years of being underestimated, dismissed, mocked for being different. Something inside her snapped. Emily bent down, picked up her bag, and straightened her back. Her eyes, normally soft and downcast, locked onto the ringleader with a calm intensity that silenced the crowd. The bully smirked, thinking Emily would back away as always. But Emily didn't move. Instead, when the girl reached to shove her again, Emily's hand shot out, faster than anyone could process. She didn't hit her. She didn't need to. With a simple, practiced movement, she twisted the bully's wrist just enough to make her yelp and drop to her knees. It wasn't brutal, but it was precise. Controlled. A demonstration of power without cruelty. The yard went dead silent. The bully scrambled back, her face red with both pain and humiliation. "What? What was that?" she stammered. Emily's voice was calm, steady, and louder than anyone had ever heard it. "That was me telling you not to touch me again." Whispers spread like wildfire. That moment changed everything. The bullies no longer saw a farm girl, they saw someone they couldn't understand, someone with strength they had mocked for years but never truly seen. Word traveled fast. By the end of the week, everyone at school knew Emily wasn't just cowgirl. She was a fighter, literally. Some dug deeper and found out she had already won local tournaments, defeating opponents twice her size with skill and precision. She had medals, trophies, and respect in circles none of her classmates even knew existed. But here's the thing, Emily didn't use that revelation to seek revenge. She didn't turn into a bully herself. She didn't flaunt her skills or walk through the halls demanding apologies. Instead, she went on with her life, just as before. She kept helping her father on the farm, kept training at the gym, and kept studying quietly in class. But people noticed the change. Where once they saw weakness, now they saw resilience. Where once they saw someone to laugh at, now they saw someone to admire even if they didn't want to admit it. Still, challenges didn't disappear. Some bullies, humiliated, tried to get back at her in subtler ways, whispering behind her back, spreading rumors. But Emily had grown past needing their approval. She knew who she was. She had faced real struggles, struggles far bigger than petty words. And that made her unstoppable. The real test came when the school organized a charity event and included a martial arts demonstration. At first, Emily hesitated. She hated the spotlight. But her coach convinced her, sometimes people need to see what you're capable of, not for you, but for them. To know that strength doesn't always look like what they expect. On the day of the event, the gym was packed. Students, teachers, even parents filled the bleachers. Emily stepped onto the mat, wearing her training gear. The same bullies who once laughed at her sat in the front row, their eyes wide, their smirks gone. When the demonstration began, Emily moved with a grace and precision that left the crowd stunned. She sparred with her coach, blocked strikes, executed flawless takedowns, and displayed techniques that showed not just power but mastery. The applause was thunderous. For the first time, Emily saw the looks of admiration, the respect, the realization dawning on faces that once looked at her with contempt. She hadn't just changed their view of her, she had changed their understanding of strength itself. But the most powerful part came afterward. Instead of ignoring those who mocked her, Emily approached them. Not with anger. Not with arrogance. But with a simple truth. You don't have to tear someone down to feel strong, she said. Real strength is in lifting people up, even when they don't deserve it. The words struck deeper than any punch ever could. Some of those bullies would later come to her, apologizing. Others would stay quiet, too ashamed to speak. But all of them remembered. Emily's story spread beyond her school. She became a symbol, not just of fighting back against bullies, but of what it meant to find power in silence, discipline, and perseverance. She showed that sometimes, the quietest people carry the loudest strength. And years later, when Emily went on to compete at national levels, when her name was announced and crowds cheered for the girl who once stood alone in a schoolyard, she carried with her the lesson that began on that farm. True strength isn't about breaking others. It's about standing tall, holding